And I just realized I was on mute. Good morning. Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me now. Feel free to hop in the chat box at any time during this presentation to let me know how you're doing and if you have any questions with the content I'm about to present. A couple of people just popped in. Beth, Chris, thank you. Let me know if you can hear me now. I think we're good. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we're all here today. This is going to be a lot of fun. I've got a lot of content to share with you, so feel free to comment along as we're going here. Awesome. Oh, some fabulous people showing up. I'm really happy you're here today. For anyone rewatching this after the live event, I've got some links that'll be in the description below that I'll update after we talk, so we'll be good to go. Good morning, Wayne. Happy to see you. All right, so before I dig into anything, super important stuff. The term Squarespace is a trademark of Squarespace Incorporated. This content is not affiliated with Squarespace Incorporated. And I've added a new note here. The accuracy of information in this class is subject to change. As we all know, Squarespace makes changes all the time. So this might change, but as of right now, this is the most up-to-date information I have to share with you, and I'm pumped. All right, here's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to be talking about some creative opt-in ideas for any business. Instead of just telling you create an ebook or create a webinar, we're going to talk about the purpose of each one of those to hopefully help you hone in on the perfect opt-in to offer people to build your email list. Then we're going to get into the 3-step sign-up process for how to create this flow using Squarespace features. I'm going to be sharing my screen here. I'll give you a little preview. We're going to be hopping into my own Squarespace website, so I'll teach you exactly how I set up my newsletter block, my mailing list, everything about it. So we're going to get into all that fun together. And then we'll talk about creating a simple welcome sequence for your new subscribers. Now, there is a lot of expert information out there about all the things to include in a welcome sequence, but I'm giving you the simple overview that's worked for me that you can start with and then develop into something awesome once you've got more time on your hands and have some more stats about how your opt-in performs. Okay? Great. We've got a lot to dig through. Again, hop into the chat at any point in time. I'm going to be taking a look at those questions at the end of the class. Don't want to distract me while I'm working here, so I'm going to keep it kind of minimized, but hop in there and let me know what's going on. I've got time reserved at the end of this hour to answer any questions you have about creating this whole opt-in email list building process using Squarespace. All right, let's dig in. I love my little slides here. Oh, I even made one for the chat. There you go. All right, so list building with a Squarespace spin. For those of you that don't know me, I am Becca Harpain. I created InsideTheSquare.co, the world's largest resource of Squarespace CSS tutorial videos. I'm a Squarespace expert, a Squarespace circle leader, a CSS expert, and an employee educator. I am one of 2 Squarespacers around the globe that actually teach new Squarespace employees how to use the program. So that's really fun. It's a fun process that I love to do. So suffice to say, Squarespace is my jam, and that's why I'm putting the Squarespace spin on this particular presentation. So when we're talking about building an email list, it all starts with an irresistible opt-in. An opt-in is sometimes referred to as a lead magnet, and it can be called a freebie. It's something that you deliver to someone in exchange for their email address. It is a transaction. You want to build your email list, and you want the people who submit their email address to be interested in what you're offering. So making an irresistible opt-in, it's the most important first step in the whole process. Our inboxes are crazy full. They're so full that Google started separating emails for us so we know what promotions are and what are updates and what are social, because we get so many emails all the time. So if you want to build a strong email list, you've got to create an irresistible opt-in that's ideal for the people you're trying to reach. So I created some ideas, and I want to talk about these. Feel free to hop into the chat with what is your favorite, or if you've had a successful one. I'd love to review that when we go through the Q&A at the end here. But here are the 6 main ideas that I really wanted to share and the point behind each one. It is super easy to create a guide, but you should only create a guide if you're explaining a concept. The guide is to guide them through the content or the process. Then you have an ebook, multiple pages. That ebook is for conveying information. If you have a deep dive on a topic, if you want to teach people, that's an ebook, my friend. Then we have a challenge. This was a popular one about a year or 2 ago. It really started to gain traction here, creating a 5-day challenge. If you want to help people reach a goal, you want to coach them to that goal, you can create a challenge for them. Now, a 5-day challenge is just an example I've seen where someone gets an email every day for 5 days to help teach them something new. But a challenge could just be as simple as a single page PDF, and they have to work their way through each bullet point in that PDF to reach their goal. But that's something you can offer as an opt-in to your audience. I myself love a good checklist, so checklist is on the list as well. Those are designed to help your audience stay organized. So if you're an expert in a particular field, great example, my sister is amazing at making cookies. And if she was going to teach people how to do what she does, if she offered a checklist for all the things you needed to have on hand in your kitchen for making sugar cookies, that would be an ideal example of an opt-in for her. Maybe she's offering a course on how to create cookies or bake the perfect sugar cookie. That checklist of the things I'd need to have in my kitchen, that would be a great opt-in for that particular business. Then we have mini course. This is for learning a basic skill. It'll be a little different than a challenge. A challenge is great because a challenge you can guide people to each different point to reach that specific goal. But a mini course will be given examples and practices, different things that people can do to actually learn a skill, not necessarily reach a goal. So that's a big difference between those two. And then last but not least, we have webinar. And for webinar, I like to think of this as actionable education. Actionable, meaning someone watches this webinar and they have something to do next. They know what to do when it's over. So this live class could be an example of a webinar. When this class is over, you're going to have a to-do list, my friend. If you haven't started your email list or you're ready to redo it, you're going to have some ideas of things to do. And I've got action steps for you to complete that process. So that's another example of an opt-in. We've got a guide where you explain the concept, an ebook where you convey information that's going to be multiple pages, a good deep dive into one particular topic, a challenge where you help people reach a goal, a checklist to keep them organized, a mini course where you can teach a basic skill using practical advice and actual practice, and then a webinar, actionable education. So those are some ideas to kind of reframe. I didn't want to just give you a giant list. So I hope that that's helpful. Now, there is a 3-step sign-up process here to offering this opt-in. This is the next very important part for building your email list. You have this irresistible offer. How do you get it in the hands of these people while building your email list, making sure that they want to connect with you on a regular basis? We need to create a landing page, a thank you page, and a welcome sequence. And if I'm going too fast, I'm sorry. I did have 1 cup of, well, it wasn't quite coffee. It was like that mushroom coffee that people are making. So I apologize if I'm speaking too fast. Hopefully you're sticking with me here. We're going to keep going. Okay. So let's go ahead and move forward. I see a quick question hopping up here from John asking, what about templates as a freebie? That's a great question, John. I feel like a template is something that you would want to do with a mini course because you want to teach people how to use the template. So a template's a great example of an opt-in that you can offer. Just make sure you give people the right information on how to use the template. Even, I'll use Canva, for example. If you're offering a Canva template to someone, they might not know how to actually use the Canva program. So I would throw in like a little mini course or a little pre-recorded webinar to teach them how to use the template. So they've got that basic skill for how to take that template and update it. Another great example of a template that we could throw into maybe a guide or an ebook could be a template of successful sales emails that you've used for your audience. That could be a great one. Rhonda said she's a sucker for a Trello board. I love that. I do think it's important when you're sharing these templates and these information, add it into an ebook or a guide or a mini course, just a little bit more information to make sure they know how to use the irresistible opt-in that you created. Great suggestions, everyone. I love it. All right, so let's talk about this sign-up process. It all starts with the landing page. Now, we've all experienced a landing page. This is where you learn about the offer. There's one main call to action, and then you use a form to gather that information. For most people, just an email address. Now, you can ask for more information, some qualifying questions. Maybe ask something like, how long have you been in business? Or even just getting first and last name. People do that all the time. I will say, little pro tip, the more form fields you have, the less likely people are to submit the form. I try to minimize mine to just email address, but, again, some people like to have more information about their leads, totally optional, but be wary of putting way too many questions in a form because the more questions they have, the less likely people are to fill out that form, okay? So I did write all this down for you too. I'm glad I threw the slide in here. I'm going to pop a little note into the chat. You can experience the whole opt-in process that I'm talking about here by grabbing the free guide for this class. I've called it Subscribers Squared. Cannot take credit. AI came up with that. Thank you, Google Bard, for coming up with such a great title for this opt-in. Subscribers Squared. This is a guide about growing your email list. It covers everything we're talking about today, but it's your chance to see this whole 3-step process in depth in first person. So I'm actually going to go ahead and share my screen here because I want to show you. Let's get that open. Okay, good. We can see things here. So I wanted to show you what this looks like. This is my landing page right here. So on this landing page, this is on Squarespace, but you'll notice this is not my main navigation. And down here, I have a totally different footer. This right here is a page where the sole purpose of this page is to get people to add their email address to get the guide. Now inside the guide, I'm going to scroll up here, you'll find I've listed out how I set this up in Squarespace right here. I've got a link to a tutorial for you, all of the information about creating your landing page. Step 1, it's in this guide. But this is what my landing page looks like. I'm like, here's the thing, you want it, give me your email address. You need a little more information? Let me give you a little more information. Here's some more info, here's some info about me. Again, here's the main call to action. On this page, you're not going to see links to my tutorials. You're not going to see a link to my podcast. You're not going to see me promoting my CSS cheat sheet. This is all about the guide. So here inside the guide, you'll get more information on how to create this in Squarespace because I removed the header and made my own. I removed the footer and added my own. I wanted to make sure I still had privacy policy, terms and conditions, disclaimer, all that important stuff. But again, the main goal of this page is to get people to sign up for that opt-in. So that's a landing page right there. That's what that looks like. Awesome. All right, I'm going to turn off the screen share. Look at me using this new software like a pro. All right, let's keep going. You'll find that full list in your guide. So now that you have this landing page inside Squarespace, there are 3 ways to collect information on that page. The whole point of delivering this opt-in is to get that email address so you can start wooing your future customers with your awesome content. In Squarespace, we have 3 ways to collect that information. We have a newsletter form, we have a contact form, and you can also use third-party code. If you're using Squarespace campaigns, which we'll talk about inside this workshop, this is a class about Squarespace, we have features like mailing list and automations, so we can use 100% Squarespace to create this whole process. But if you use a third-party program like Flowdesk or MailerLite or ConvertKit, most of those programs have the ability for you to get an embed code, and you can add a code block to Squarespace to create that form on your landing page. So you'll still need to follow the process to build the landing page inside Squarespace. Then you can use a Squarespace form or a third-party code to collect that information, okay? So after you've collected that information, then we have the thank you page. This is something that not a lot of people do these days, but it's a process I've started doing and I really like it, so I wanted to share it with you. This thank you page gives you an opportunity to interact just a little bit more. You can explain where and when you're going to deliver that opt-in. You can also give them a link to access it immediately. You can also offer more of your content and encourage more interaction. A lot of new thank you pages, people will get into details like, here's how to reach me on social, here's a little bit more about my experience, maybe here's some testimonials. You've got a lot of opportunity to share more information with your brand new subscriber. This is a really important part of building a strong relationship with someone that's just met you. Now, again, at the very top of this, we do need to emphasize they signed up for the thing. Here's when they're going to get the thing and where they're going to get the thing. That's an important part of your thank you page. And again, if you go through the process with my guide, you'll be able to see what the thank you page looks like. Now, after that, we've got step number 3. Step number 3 is the automated welcome sequence. I'm going to go back one slide. That where and when you'll deliver, you asked for their email address, you should show up in their inbox. With that email address, you're going to send them your automated welcome sequence. Now, again, there are lots of experts out there that have a lot of ideas on what to share with this welcome sequence, and there's a lot of information from really smart people on creating a really robust one. In this class, we're just going to talk about a basic one. We want to get you set up today, creating that email list, creating that opt-in flow. So we're going to talk about the super simple welcome sequence that you can make super fancy when you've got the time, okay? Okay, automated welcome sequence. There are 3 main emails that I set up when I'm creating a brand new opt-in. I deliver the opt-in and introduce myself. Then I nurture and engage with additional content. I'll send them a second email a few days later that says, hey, this is me. Here's some other stuff that you might be interested in. And then after that, I send them the where and what email, the when and what. I'll let them know when they're going to hear from me again and what information they're going to get. The whole point of this opt-in and building up this email list is so I can build this relationship with someone who's a future customer of mine, a future client. I want to make sure that I keep this constant communication with them. I love this quote. The only way to stay top of mind is to stay top of the inbox. So make sure that you're often engaging with your audience on a consistent basis. I send out an email every Tuesday and Thursday with my audience, sharing new information. So in my 3rd email, I tell them, hey, you signed up for this opt-in. I'm going to move you over to my email list. And this is when you're going to hear from me and what I'm going to share with you. Another great reason to send this is to encourage people who don't want that information that regularly to unsubscribe. I am totally a fan of people clicking unsubscribe if my content is not what they want in their inbox. Not only do I not want to clutter an inbox, but I have to pay for every single subscriber on my email list. If they're not interested in what I'm going to be teaching them, I don't want to have to be paying to hang on to their email list for no reason. So don't be afraid to see those unsubscribe numbers happen with your when and what email. If someone's genuinely not interested in what you're offering, you can focus your time, your energy, and your resources on reaching the people that do want to learn what you have to share, okay? So definitely going to throw that one in there. All right, let's talk about this welcome series time. When you're sending out this sequence, that welcome email, that should happen immediately on the first day, right after they submit that email. Say, hey, here is the information you just signed up for. Here's a little more info about me. And then a few days later, send them a nurture email. Check in. Say, hey, how did everything go with that? Do you want to check out this other thing I have? You might be interested in this blog post or this tutorial or this webinar I did. And then a few days after that, day number 5, send them that engage email of like, hey, you're going to hear from me at this time, and this is what I'm going to share. And if you want to, throw in a little link of like, hang out with me on YouTube or Instagram or something along those lines. You've got some opportunity there to engage. Again, this is a super simple welcome series, but I thought it was really important to highlight. Okay. So I do have this all listed out with additional details in that guide. You'll find that on page 10 inside the guide that I created there. So the whole welcome sequence, when to send, and what to include in it. And I see a question just popped up from Renee asking if I prefer a landing page or a pop-up. That is such a good question. I have a very strong opinion about this, and I want to preface this by saying opinion. This is my opinion. I personally despise pop-ups. The analogy I like to share is that let's say you're going into a jewelry store and you want to buy a brand new necklace, okay? You're walking into the jewelry store and the person behind the counter throws a postcard at your face. That's a pop-up. But if you walk into the jewelry store and you look at the case of necklaces and in there's a little postcard that says, hey, get 10% off any necklace that you purchase today, then I'm more likely to interact with that jeweler and purchase that necklace because the offer I want is right there in the case. In the digital example, that'd be right there on the page in the content of the email. I personally feel like a pop-up is like throwing a promotion in my face. I want to see the promotion in line with all the other content on my site. So in my own blog at insidethesquare.co, you'll see promos in line in my blog post when I'm offering an opt-in that has to do with my content. Now, all that to say, step off my soapbox. I know that pop-ups have seen a lot of success rates for a lot of different industries. A lot of people tout them as like really good for building your email list and having high conversion rates. And if you want to test it on your own website, you do you. That sounds fantastic. Squarespace has the pop-up feature enabled under their marketing tools. Go for it if you want to. My personal opinion, I'm not a fan. All right, I hope that helps answer your question. Okay, so let's talk about collecting information. Thinking about those specific pop-ups, we're going to skip that part. And this is alive. My heater just kicked on. It's way too hot in my office. I'm going to go turn that off. And she's back. Okay. So collecting the information. If we're skipping the pop-ups and we're talking about just the forms on the landing page, we're back to the landing page itself. We have the newsletter form and contact form built right into Squarespace. And again, you can use third-party code embedding a form from ConvertKit or MailerLite or Flowdesk. You've got options there. But when we're talking about newsletter contact form, I wanted to show you how you can set up these email automations, your welcome sequence, inside Squarespace campaigns. Now, creating a mailing list is the first step. You need to go to Marketing, Email Campaigns, Mailing List, and stick with me here. I'm going to screen share to show you exactly how this is set up on my own website. We're going behind the scenes of inside the Square here in just a minute. But this is what you need to do first. Create that mailing list. After you've done that, you go to the newsletter form settings and you make sure that newsletter is linked to that mailing list. And then you go into campaigns and you set up your welcome sequence. Okay, let's do this. Let's hop into Squarespace. I'm going to screen share. We'll navigate here. Okay, here we are inside Squarespace. I'm going to go to Marketing, Email Campaigns, and then Mailing Lists. This is where you can set up the mailing list. You can see here, I've got some subscribers. Some of you are most likely watching this video right here. If you need to add a mailing list, select Add and just title it. That's all you have to do. You're just giving it a name. So again, we're here inside the main site. We went to Marketing, Email Campaigns, and then Mailing Lists. Clicking on this right here, this is the new list that I have, but to add one, just select Add and you're good to go. So let's go back to our landing page and I'll show you how we actually added that inside the form itself. So I'm going to hop into edit mode for our landing page. I'm going to double click on our newsletter block and let's take a look at the setup here. This is the name of the form. This is something that I'll see in the back end in Squarespace. Other people won't see this form title, so don't worry about that too much. I like to label mine with the year and or the month or quarter that I'm creating it, but I only have one promotion for an email list here, one opt-in. So I'm saying form name 2024 email list LP for landing page. After that, I've got title, description, disclaimer. Quick pro tip I should have mentioned on a slide here. I like to link in my disclaimer to my terms and conditions page and my privacy policy. Inside the disclaimer, just highlight the text and click this button and you'll be able to add a link to that page on your site. It's a good pro tip for you there. All right, scrolling down here, we have post submit. I'll click into post submit. This is where I redirect it to a new page. So I'm going to attach the link and here we're going to say email list. Let's see, I think it's email list guide. This is my thank you page. Make sure that this is toggled off. I don't want this to open in a new page. I want it to be right there on that same page, okay? So that's how you add the redirect to that specific form. It's going to think about it. It's saved. We're good to go. All right, now under storage, this is where you'll find your mailing list. I want to store these emails in the mailing list I created. So I click into Squarespace and here is where I can grab my email list. These are all the three that I have on my site. Email list guide is the one I want. So I click on this and then I have the email list guide. So when someone submits on this form, they're going to be redirected to the thank you page and they'll be added to this mailing list. Okay, awesome. We'll go ahead and select exit. We've made those changes that we need to make. Now let's talk about the automation part of this. We have the landing page that we've created here. It has its own internal navigation. The only thing you can do on this page is submit the form to get the guide and you're good to go. I've got a lot of information for people that like to read. After they submit the form, that email address gets added to my mailing list and they go to my thank you page. So then under marketing, email campaigns, automations, this is where I have the three emails. The first email is my welcome email. It sends immediately, and we'll take a look at this email. It says, hey there, Squarespacer, Becca here from Inside the Square. I start all my emails like that, so it's a great way to get them familiar with my tone of voice and my personality already. I say, hey, you just signed up for this. Here you go. Inside this, you'll find it. Hope you like it. I'll be back in your inbox soon. That's it. Super simple setup. They click here to access the PDF. They're good to go. Inside Squarespace campaigns, I've got my second email, my nurture email. I've set this to send up 3 days after someone joins the list. This is a part of the timing of your email that you can set up inside Squarespace. 3 days after they sign up, I'm checking in on their progress. This I tried to make super simple. Again, in this email, this is a great opportunity for you to give them more information. For this particular campaign, I just focused on the nurture. And I said, hey, you downloaded this a few days ago and I want to check in on your progress, asking a couple of questions. And then I threw in this part. reply to this email to let me know. This right here is something that is a technique I'm personally testing. This is not legal advice, and I don't know if this technique works, but I heard a rumor, so I'm going to spread that rumor right now. The rumor is if people reply to your emails, you are more likely to end up in their inbox and not in their spam folder. So, throwing it out there, giving it a try. Again, that's a rumor. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but it was a technique I wanted to try with this quick email for my opt-in. So we'll see how it goes. And then last but not least, I have my engage email. This is one that I send 5 days after someone signs up for my email list. Clicking here, this one says, I'm back in your inbox again. This is some information. When you're ready to learn more, I've got you covered. I'm moving you over to my weekly newsletter list, so I'll be back in your inbox with a tutorial on Tuesday, letting them know exactly what they're going to get from me and when they're going to get it. So those are the 3 emails in a basic welcome sequence that I've set up using Squarespace campaigns. All right, now going back to our presentation here, let's look at that list one more time. There we go. We created the mailing list. We did that under email campaigns, mailing list. Then in the newsletter form, we made sure that on that newsletter form, they got redirected to the thank you page, but they were also added to our Squarespace campaigns mailing list. Then after that, we created the automatic welcome sequence. That welcome sequence had the immediate email that said, hey, here's the thing you just asked for. Then it had the second email a few days later that said, hey, how's it going? You having fun yet? And then we had the third email saying, hey, that was a few days ago. I've got a lot more to share with you. This is where when you're going to hear from me and what I'm going to teach you next. That's your simple welcome sequence and how it can be set up inside Squarespace. All right, we're on to the class outline time, and then I'll hop into those questions. I saw a few pop up, but I was too excited to walk you through Squarespace, so I haven't read them yet. We'll get there in just a second. Creative opt-in ideas for any business. That was where we started in this class. We talked about what you can offer: a guide, an ebook, a challenge, checklist, mini course, webinar, or templates, which was a great question that was popped into the chat. Make sure that whatever you offer, it's really in line with how you want to help the person that's signing up for this opt-in. If it's a guide, those are for explaining a concept. If it's an ebook, that's for conveying a lot of information. An ebook that's 2 pages long, that's a pamphlet. That's not an ebook. Make an ebook something that has a lot of in-depth information about a particular topic. If it's a challenge, make sure that they're going to reach a goal by the end of that challenge. If it's a checklist, make sure it's a checklist that can help them stay organized, especially if they're in the beginning stages of what you want to teach them how to do. If it's a mini course, that can be something that to convey a basic skill. So if you're going to give someone a basic skill, try to include opportunities for them to practice that skill throughout the course. And then if it's a webinar, they need some action steps at the end of that. A webinar is actionable education. They should learn something throughout the webinar that they can take and apply to their own lives or their own business. And again, templates, if you want to offer a template, I think that is a fantastic idea. Just make sure you also provide education on how to use the template. It's so easy to assume that people know how to use a program you're comfortable using. So if you provide them a Trello board template, for example, make sure they understand the basics of how to use Trello. It might be their first time interacting with the program, and they might just be using it because you said it was cool. So make sure you teach them how to use what you're giving them a template for. All right, the second thing we talked about in this class was the 3-step sign-up process. 3-step sign-up process for using Squarespace to create this opt-in and build your email list. In this process, we have the landing page. The focus of that landing page is converting, is giving you that email, making sure that you tell them exactly why they're going to do it because you're going to deliver that irresistible opt-in. After they submit their email address, you immediately send them to a thank you page. That thank you page is where they can access the guide, connect with you in a different way. That thank you page is an important part of the process to make sure that they're really confident with, hey, I just gave my information to the right person. Then you've got the welcome sequence. That welcome sequence has 3 emails to it. Let's hop into there. The immediate welcome email that says, this is exactly what you just signed up for. Here you go. The second email where you check in on them, see how they're doing with what they asked for, and give them some opportunity to interact with some more of your content if you're available to do that. Maybe send them to a blog post or a previous publication or a webinar, something with a little bit more content to help them with whatever part of the opt-in process you're helping them with. A little bit more information to nurture them. And then the third email that you send is going to tell them, hey, this is when I'm going to engage with you on a regular basis. This is when you'll hear from me, and this is what you're going to hear from me about. Okay, so we've got first day or immediately, then 3 days later, then 5 days later. Personal preference of mine. You can play with those numbers as much as you want to. And again, for the welcome sequence, there are tons of experts out there that can teach you a lot more about creating a really advanced, robust welcome sequence. This is just something to get started with, okay? Awesome. All right, so again, wrote all of that down for you, especially the welcome sequence details. You'll find it all in your guide inside the square.co/email list. And now it's time for the chat. I'm gonna grab some water really quickly though. I know if you ever notice my tutorials, they're like 5 minutes long. I don't talk this long in a row, so I need some water real quick. All right, we've got some good chats going on here. I'm gonna scroll through real quick, pop in any questions. We did talk about pop-ups. That's a great thing to bring up. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen really quickly to show you here inside Squarespace. If you do want to set up a pop-up, where did it go? There we are. If you do want to set up a pop-up, if you're inside Squarespace, this is one of the easiest ways to reach it. Marketing, marketing tools, promotional pop-up. You can create a pop-up here, and this pop-up, this is the last one that I used for the workshop bundle I did at the end of last year. As you can see, you can even have a GIF in there. That's how I got the animation. I ended up not using the pop-up because, again, personal preference, really not a fan. But if you do want to create one, you've got one right there. Marketing, marketing tools. Okay, awesome. All right, let's check back in here. Let's see. All right, a couple of things about pop-ups. I love it. We've got the polarizing opinions. Fantastic. We've got Dr. Ali Marty here. Let's see here. She's asking, can we edit the form to have people submit their first name only, not their last name? That's a great question. For that, we actually need a bit of a Squarespace workaround, and let me go ahead and show you. I'm going to hop into edit mode. You'll notice in the newsletter form, under the design option, under the content option, I can require name field, but it does first and last. I don't want first and last. Again, more form fields, less likely they are to fill it out. So if you actually want to add a standard contact block using a contact form, let me show you my workaround here. I'm going to double click on this form. Sorry, it looks messy right here while we're working, but as you know, we can exit and not save our changes, so it won't mess up the landing page. But here we are with the contact form block. I'm going to select edit form fields, and I'll show you my favorite trick. I'll remove name, I'll remove message, I'll move subject up, and I'm going to change subject to say first name. That's how you can get one form field for a first name. Now, just like we talked about with the whole process, the next step is going to be thank you page. So for post submit, select redirect and attach the link to your thank you page. So this one was my email list guide. We'll grab that. There we go. That's my thank you page that we have to attach as a redirect to that specific form. Under storage, click into additional storage, and you can connect it to Google Drive, Zapier, MailChimp. You've got some options there. You're going to have to work through a different process to get your marketing automations for it, but that's how you can narrow things down so you only require the first name, not first and last. You'll need to use a contact form. So I hope that workaround is helpful for you. Definitely a sneaky one. Again, we're using a standard, let me go back here, a standard text field, not the name field. So you just have the one form there, okay? Awesome. We'll go ahead and select exit. We'll say, no, don't save those changes. And there we go. All right, we're back to normal. Okay, let's see here. Andrew asked, is moving those subscribers to your regular list a function of Squarespace? It is not, Andrew. That is a great question. For my main email list, I actually use a program called MailerLite. I've also used Flowdesk in the past, and little side note, I think I'm going back to Flowdesk, but we'll see how that happens. It's going to be a lot of work to get that going. Fingers crossed. Anyway, I use a third-party program. So what I do, since I send out my emails on Tuesday, if you remember from my own marketing campaign here, this third email says, hey, you're going to hear from me on a Tuesday, saying right here. So what I do is every Monday when I'm in my office, I export all the people that have signed up for my email list using my lead magnets in Squarespace, and I import them into the program I use to send my weekly emails out. The reason I use that program is they have a few more robust features for different aspects of data information, just tracking, analytics, a lot of information like that, and more opportunity to segment people. So I can say, okay, these people haven't opened my emails in 90 days. I'm going to send them a check-in email. There are lots of other aspects of managing my email list that I need a more robust program to use. So once people reach this email, On Monday, I take that list of new subscribers and I add that list to MailerLite because I know Tuesday is going to be that next email that they get. So I don't have to worry if they get this email on a Wednesday afternoon or they get this email on a Saturday. It doesn't matter because Tuesday is the next time they're going to hear from me. So that's an excellent question, Andrew. Thank you for asking that. Awesome. Let's see here. You're welcome, Holly. Fantastic. All right. Cool. I think we're good. Okay, the first name trick is helpful. Fantastic. I've got a question here from Chris. Have you found any limitations using Squarespace for mailing lists versus an external service like MailChimp? Excellent question. Again, for the opt-in process, I think it's great. For standard email management and a lot of the other more advanced things that I like to do when it comes to segmentation and timing and different promotions, I prefer to use a third-party email program where the only thing they focus on is helping me write and send perfect emails. So again, I've used Flowdesk in the past. I'm still an affiliate of theirs, and I'm honestly looking into going back into Flowdesk in March. I have a lot of lead magnets on my site that I need to go through and update the forms for, so this process is going to take me about 3 weeks to finish. But in the interim, I've been using MailerLite. That's another program that I like a lot. They've helped me with a lot of email management. I did use MailChimp in the past, but once I got above 5,000 subscribers, it was really difficult to not just use their program, but to pay for it. It got really, really expensive. So I started using Flowdesk and MailerLite instead. So I hope that that's helpful. Yeah, okay, awesome. Getting some good stuff. Fantastic. Great. Well, I hope it was helpful to see the inner workings here. I'm just going to show you one more time using Squarespace here inside this marketing tab. Mailing list is the very first step for what you need to set up here. Mailing list is the thing you need to add, so then you can link your newsletter form to that. And after you've linked your newsletter form, you're going to hop in your automations. We're just going to do a practice one real quick. I'm going to select add. I'll select, you can do welcome or check-in. It doesn't matter. They just have different names. Don't use subscriber discount unless that's exactly what you're offering, because this will be tied into your e-commerce. All we're doing is an automation welcome or a check-in. I'll just click on welcome email. We'll start with the blank one so I can show you how we set this up. We'll use this blank template. This is the important part I want you to see, the automation settings. Can you see the right-hand side of my screen here? We're good? Okay. Clicking into the automation settings. When a person signs up for your site, that means any form they filled out, they're going to get this email. I prefer to specify the mailing list because if you remember, the first step of our welcome sequence is to send them what they asked for. So this is where I'll say when they sign up for this specific list. Then after that, we have when do you send the email. Immediately is for that very first email in your welcome sequence. And then I say custom, send one 3 days later. That's for my nurture email for, hey, how did it go? Do you want to check out this stuff? And then 5 days later, I'll say, 5 days, come on. There we go. 5, not 54. Delay by 5 days. That's when they'll get the email that says, hey, you signed up for this thing. I've got a lot more to share. Here is when and what you're going to hear from me next. So when will be you're going to hear from me on Tuesday, and what is I'm going to share Squarespace tutorials with you. And again, I move my subscribers over on Monday. So I usually do this on Monday afternoon. I'll say, okay, all these people that signed up for my email list, I'm adding you to my main list. You're going to get an email from me on Tuesday. So that way, if they reach day 5 on a Sunday, they're still going to hear from me that next Tuesday. It keeps me in line with the messaging that's inside this email, okay? Now, there is one thing I do want to mention while we're here. The style of emails can be really limited inside Squarespace because although we can select quickly match my site and pick one of our color themes here, it adds our logo, all of that's great. The font packs are where it just drives me bonkers. This is what originally drove me to Flowdesk and MailerLite. They don't have pop-ins in here, and I use pop-ins in everything, in all of my marketing, and all of my Instagram posts, and my YouTube thumbnails. Pop-ins is my font, and it's not here. So that was a real bummer. But for the point of conveying information, it still works great, and the automations are built right into Squarespace, which I absolutely love. Makes it easy to add that form to the landing pages, all of that good stuff. So I hope that that was helpful for you to see that behind the scenes there inside the square. All right, I'm going to check the list over here. Fantastic. Okay, great. It's good to know. Holly's also doing the merging between 2 programs, MailerLite and Squarespace. You can absolutely use those third-party programs and integrate them with Squarespace. And again, don't be afraid to use the embed code on your landing page. Just make sure you can direct people to the thank you page. That is such an important step. It's not a necessary step, but it's one of those above and beyond steps that I really love. Okay, I want to mention too, grab that guide if you haven't. I'm going to go ahead and pop it into the chat one more time. Let's see. Here we go. Oops. Hey, there's my whole background. I guess I just got rid of everything. That's fun. Let's see if I can throw the thing back in there. Hang on. Here we go. Back to my presentation. Let's just click all the way through to the end. We covered so much stuff today, you guys. Good job, us. There we go. All right, almost there. That's what we covered. There's our class outline. We're in the chat talking about it. I'm going to throw my little face down here. Hi again. And here inside the chat, I'm going to add the link one more time to the guide. There we go. That last one had a /. That's the correct one. Email list. You're good to go. All right. So here we are at the very end. Thank you for joining me for this presentation. We just covered a ton of stuff. I really hope you found it helpful. If you have a chance, head on over to insidethesquare.co/feedback. I have a little feedback forum so you can let me know what you thought about this live class. I did a lot of paid workshops in 2023, and while those were a lot of fun, managing that many subscriber lists and all of the back and forth and the Squarespace updates, it was just a lot to manage for my business. My main goal today was just to share information on how you can make Squarespace uniquely yours, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's why we're here on YouTube Live instead in this free class about setting up your email list. I truly hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again for joining. Check out that guide, and most importantly, friend, have fun with your Squarespace website. Bye for now.